We're going to say that 1,000 times, but it's really the truth. Ohio State, everything that it represents, college football, it's kind of a long story for me. I've been in the NFL for a long time. I started off as a college coach. I actually coached with Coach Walton a long time ago at Syracuse University, so we go back, it might be almost 25 years now or longer. But for me, the NFL was great. I had a great run. It was a lot of fun. We won some big games, which was really cool. But I just love the college environment. I really got into coaching when I left engineering to, just pursue my passion of really working with young men, 18 to 22-year-olds, really being influential in their lives and helping them grow. And really, that's what college coaches were for me. When you're kind of in college and you're trying to figure out life and trying to figure out everything, to be in a situation where, we're in the buildings all the time and you have problems that come up or whatever it is, and kind of just working with young men. I just think it's so important, to have that. My parents were teachers. My dad was a wrestling coach. So, we had guys that would come over. They were trying to make weight and stuff. So I just love this atmosphere. I'm married. My wife is amazing. I have 3 incredible kids, and I really wanted them to experience this too. It's much more I don't want to say it's more family. Everything was great in the NFL, but this is a family environment. It's really cool. So I'm pretty excited, man. It's gonna be great.
Matt, that year off, how much did that kind of re-energize you, and how much did you learn about the college game
Yeah.
that maybe you didn't know before this?
Yeah, you know what? And I think you nailed it right on the head there. That year off really gave me a good chance to kind of look at the full landscape of football. Honestly, when you're kind of just in that grind and you're going all the time and you're playing a lot of games, so the season goes late, you just go into that next mode. And for me, it was a great opportunity to kind of step back and say, okay, what's changed? And honestly, for me, one of the most exciting things I think in college football was the playoffs. To have that, that's what I loved about the NFL, was just give me a chance, get us in the playoffs, and we got a chance to make a run or be able to get going. And I thought that was so cool in college football this past year. I was excited to see it. Obviously, it was great for Ohio State. And that, along with some of the things they're doing with NIL and some of the other changes that are coming, it just made me feel like kind of what I had been doing, and the NFL is always changing and they're going in a direction too. And I thought that it just felt like this is, studying it in the off season, that college football to me really felt like, okay, hey, that's where I want to be. It's going to be very familiar in certain things for me, the playoffs, the competition, all of that. It was really kind of very, I don't know, kind of just called to me, I guess.
Obviously, there are things that maybe are becoming more like the NFL, but there are some things that are a little different. The recruiting aspect, which
Yeah.
I don't think you've ever really had a chance to do. How's that been going for you?
Yeah. Yeah, huge adjustment, absolutely. Recruited a long time ago. It was a while, and that landscape has completely changed. You know what? I love the recruiting process, though. And I'm in the deep end right now. I'm trying to swim and get caught up, as I dive in. But building those relationships and, again, having conversations with parents, having conversations with mom, dad, potential player for us, student athlete, telling them what and how we can help develop and grow, their son. That's really important, and that's something I think that, for me, I really enjoyed. I enjoyed having those conversations. I enjoyed building those relationships. You do some recruiting, it's different in the NFL, but, so talking about things like football, scheme, all that's kind of the same. Hey, how do you use me in this position, or what do you think about me here? The evaluation of the player, that's the same. But the beauty of it, or the extra wonderful benefit, is now we're talking about, we're talking about your son as a person. How is he going to grow and develop? School, learning, from being a young man into having to go into that next step. And look, for obviously the guys that are coming here, they want to go to the NFL if that's their goal. That's certainly something I can help them with. I've had a lot of jobs in the NFL on both sides of the ball, and front office roles and head coach roles and all coordinator roles. So I know what's required for that. I know what's needed for that. So just being able to talk to the kids and the parents, I know that's like a long-term, sort of vision, but that's what they want to do after they get done here. So I can help them with that. So that's all been it's been fun. It's the hardest thing for me right now is just, I'm trying to, the areas and, the bigger schools, and obviously, look, there's nothing better than Ohio high school football. This is like, I know that from even being in the NFL, like just where all the good players are coming from. So I'm excited to be in this state. That is amazing.
Matt, when you were on I think you were talking to Julian Edelman. That's one of the only podcasts we've had to refer to with recent interview. You were talking about building schemes to fit the person.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like you're married to just one thing. So
Yeah.
if you are scheme flexible, what is the overall principle that guides you as a defensive
Yeah.
coordinator?
Yeah, and that's something that kind of developed, right? I think when I originally went to New England in the early 2000s, the game was different. You know, there was much more like two-back sets and double tight end sets, and we were fundamentally a 3-4 team, as people would say. Now our 3-4 changed through the years. We always kind of were developing it and evolving it, but the game changed. And one of the things that kind of happened to us at New England, luckily enough, fortunately, I'm all very lucky with the things that happened for a reason, but we would pick late in the draft because of our season. Our 3-4 scheme really expanded. You know, a couple of our coaches left. Romeo Crennel left, and Eric went to the Jets. And so it became much more difficult to find the pieces to fit the scheme. So we had to take the reverse effect. Let's just get the best players we can. Let's bring them in, and let's figure out how to use them. Let's figure out how to put them in position. And then with 11 personnel and no huddles and all those things that evolved, the game changed from a really heavy kind of like call it base defensive packages to multiple sub packages, and that's something else that happened. And we just had guys that evolved the defense through the years because they were on our team. So saying all that, I guess what I tell everybody is, you know, my whole goal is to try to figure out, what do you do well? How do I put you in the best position to go get on the field and do that job well to the best of your ability? Because if you can play fast, you can play aggressive, because I have you in your skill set, then you're going to be disruptive as a defensive player. You're going to help us win as a defense, win as a team, and we can fit the pieces around where everybody goes, you know, in that accord. So, and then grow from there. So that's kind of like, you know, I've coached all of it, right? It doesn't really matter. I've coached 3-4, 4-3, nickel, big nickel, dimes, all those packages, 4 down fronts, 5 down fronts, odd spacing. You know, you kind of do through the course of the year. So to me, it's all like, hey, that guy can do this or that guy can do this. And then I also think it creates roles. So it's not always like the same 11 on the field. So if you can have a really good skill set and you can do something, and if it's in a critical situation, then we got to get you in that spot and help you be in that situation to win the game. Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. It is. Yeah, I actually have 2 of them right now. I brought them in and kind of like set them down, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, what is that?" I was like, "Don't worry about it. It's just reference." But yeah.
You looked at this opportunity to come to Ohio State, and some of the talent that's coming back, and guys to be able to coach. Who stood out to you? It's like, hey, I want to go coach that guy. I have an opportunity to put that guy.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard not to walk in the building and try to find Caleb as fast as possible, right? I mean, he is unbelievable, amazing player, very versatile. You know, there's a lot of, like, you know, you look at a guy like that and you're like, okay, we're going to be able to do some really fun things with him, and he's super smart, and he's such a great student of the game, and his approach is amazing. Sonny Styles, I mean, you know, when you look at him and, you know, Arvell, I mean, those are guys. We always had big backers. I walked in and I was like, okay, I'm home. I'm like, this is like, these guys are, you know, they're big, they're long, they can move, they eat up a lot of space. So now my brain just starts going. I'm like, oh, we can do this. We can move them here. We can put them there. We can line up here and do all those things. But then you got IGB outside. You know, Jermaine. You have so many great players. To me, I don't know. It's exciting. It's exciting.
You have a relationship with Timmy Walton.
Yes.
Coach together, but basically this whole staff is here and you're coming in. Just talk about that
Yeah.
dynamic and how that's working.
Yeah, I mean, how lucky for me, right, to be able to come in a situation where these guys can really help bring me in, you know, and let me. And so obviously I lean on Tim quite a bit because of our relationship going back. But Coach Johnson and I have known each other for a long time, you know, going back to when I was at Syracuse University. The head coach there was Paul Pasqualoni. He had played at Penn State. So we always kind of had a Penn State, Syracuse, you know, kind of connection, and obviously just admired him through the years and always was talking to him because he always has great players coming out wherever he's coached to come to our level. So you were always building those relationships. And so to be able to sit down and talk football and philosophy with him is amazing. The cover stuff with Tim and I, it's like a natural conversation because, and again, Tim was in the NFL for a long time too. So a lot of those conversations are great. Matt and, you know, James, I worked out James here. I'm probably pretty sure I was out on this field and I was, you know, yelling at him. But, you know, super smart player, a guy that saw the game extremely well and was able to play fast because of it. And so all of that, those connections, it's been really awesome. And I'm just, again, my job is really to sit and learn and try to observe and then okay, where can I add? Where can we change? Where can we adjust? And, and then we got to work it out as a staff.
You still wear the
Sorry. Yeah, I did. I was at practice too. Sorry. I was rolling.
yeah, is that just
You know what? I'm always taking notes. I actually don't have mine, but I usually carry like a little notebook. So even when our guys are working out, I'm probably walking around just taking little notes, and we're always drawing football. It's kind of just a habit at most points from being a young coach and breaking film. I think I kind of told the story on it was Julian's podcast or the show that Coach and I did, but. As a young coach, we would break down film. I would draw every play, in detail, all 22 guys, footwork, depths, alignments, all of it. And it really was, we hand drew them. And, a good old number 2 was the best. You get it nice and sharp. You could have a nice clean point, and the lines were smooth. But it used to take us like 12 hours to break a game. You're drawing every play. So when you're coaching all day long and then trying to break 4 or 5 games during the course of the week, if you had 10 minutes, I didn't care where you were in the building, you had your pads with you, you were like, boom, let me start to draw. It kind of just went in the hat behind the ear because that was the safest place to put it. So that's kind of where that is. But I'm always trying to take notes and stuff. Oh, yeah. I got some good notes from this morning for sure. Yep, absolutely.
Bill Belichick is going back to school.
Yeah,
so to speak.
yep.
Did that impact you? Have you guys compared notes at all? I mean, I don't know if you do that with him.
Yeah.
In terms of why he did that, maybe that showed you it can be done.
Yeah, I would say this.
start to wrap it up for these first
Bill and I are obviously very close. We talk a lot, and we've spent a great, almost 2 decades together of football conversation too. But we were together every day this past fall. We did the coach show on YouTube, which was great. That was something I wrote last spring, and I just, it was another way for he and I to get in the room and just teach football, which we love to do. But we did have a lot of conversations about college football, through the course of really last spring, taking a look at how we really get fascinated with roster builds. So one of the things I think that was really interesting with college football was with the portal, with, the 2 opportunities there, with recruiting, how fast can you build your team? How fast can you really, get the good players in the building? In the NFL, it was pretty rigid. You knew your points, whether it was free agency to the draft to the 53 cut to the trade deadline. Those are the 4 opportunities. Then with the contracts, how many really big contracts can you sign? And we got fascinated with the college model, so we really started studying a lot of the different schools and how they were building the rosters. So we did have a lot of those conversations.
And duties are different, but what did you learn in Detroit?
There's so much you learn in that situation. I mean, obviously, for myself, going from being a coordinator to a head coach, it's there's no book. It's really, until you're in that position. And that's why, so many first-time head coaches, it's not easy, and a lot of times when you go back and if you get in a second opportunity, you have more success because if you do take that opportunity, and mine in Detroit was great. I learned a lot, great family, the Ford families that owned it. It was a great franchise. I wasn't my best version of a coach. It's something I certainly I take responsibility for. And through the course of my years of coaching, like not all of them are going to be perfect. I'm trying as much as I can, but that first year was really hard. And I was trying to learn a lot, and I didn't do a good job. I reflected a lot too. I think one of the things that was really that I watched that Michael Jordan documentary. Did you see that? And something triggered when I watched it. And he was talking about his intensity when they lost the championship and how he told everybody that was coming in the building the next year exactly how it was going to be, his focus. We had lost the Super Bowl then. We had been, it was like Super Bowl championship. It was like every other year. And so we had won in 16, we went back in 17 and we lost. And I think that mindset, when you lose that game, all you want to do is you just want to go back. It's just your level of where your intensity and urgency is at such a high level. And I didn't do a good job of walking into a new building where, they didn't lose this. You know what I mean? That wasn't their fault. That was my fault. And I never reset myself, I don't think, well enough to hey, I'm in someplace new. These guys didn't have that journey last year. I gotta start to teach and coach again. I gotta start to build again. And I didn't do a good enough job with that.
Matt, you mentioned that you have to have so many different packages that you've used. As you move to the college level, do you feel like you have to simplify things?
on the 10.
Yeah, I think the beauty of football, and definitely something I learned at New England was, let's take the extremely complex and let's try to boil it down to maybe 3 to 5 things, really simple, so we can really detail that out as much as possible. I think that's a really cool thing to do. I think that in general, yes, we have lots of packages and all that stuff, but I always felt going into a game, my whole goal was like, I just want to make sure they can go play fast and play aggressive. So I don't want to have too much where they can't do that. I want them to be able to go play. They play. You know, I'm not playing. They play the game. So let them get on the field, let them play fast, let them play aggressive. And I think that is a good balance of making sure you have enough to, you know, defend what you're going to see, but also, you know, let the players go play free enough where they can be aggressive and have the tools on the field they need, if that makes sense.
Matt, thank
Yeah,
you very much.
yeah. Thanks so much. Nice to meet everybody. Yeah, appreciate it.
Nice to meet you, man.
Yeah, nice to meet
Nice
you
to
too.
meet you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I can't wait to, you know, I know we'll have more questions as we go and just grow the relationship.